back, you guys, to Thriving Goddesses. Let's get started and pick today's topic. Have my assistant help me. Okay, that's not shaking.
That's not shaking.
Oh, okay. I already had my hand on it. Self-care.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
All right. That's a good topic.
Okay, before we even talk about this topic, I actually had to ask myself this on my recent self-care journey that I'm currently on now to 2020. And it's why self-care? Like, why should you take care of yourself? Why should you spend this time taking care of yourself? You can spend it on something else.
Well,
what do you guys think?
Shoot, we're in the business of providing healthcare. So how can we expect ourselves to even reach that threshold when we can't provide the same kind of care to ourselves? It's just not possible. It's not possible.
What do you guys think?
And even the idea of that we are important too, you know, each individual, like you are important to yourself, and just remembering that and knowing that you have to take care of yourself because you're important. You know, simple.
So I think that, like, for me, self-care is important because, like, I'm always worried about or focused on where my mind will go if I'm not taking care of myself.
That's good.
And so, you know, like you guys know I struggle with depression a lot. And so if I don't do the self-care, if I'm not doing these things intentionally to make sure that my mind is in a certain place and that I feel good about myself and that I feel good about what I'm doing, you know, then I'm allowing external forces to control where my emotional and mental space is at, and I can't allow that. And so that's why self-care is important for me.
I love it. That's good. For me, I had to think about it like, imagine you had a companion who was there with you every second of every day, and you can be very nasty to them and talk down to them. And how would, you know, like, imagine having like a puppy with you all day and you're just so nasty to them every second, or like a little companion, and how they would feel, and how would they become encouraged and, you know, develop the strength to overcome things. And I thought about that, and I was like, it's so easy for us to think about it like, you're my best friend and you're with me, I'm going to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
But you're with yourself all, you know, like you're and we, you know, for myself, I do that like before I can say anything good, you know, I'm already critiquing everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I thought about self-care being as a time for, you know, for me to set aside and to build myself up, like to build that person up, and to figure out what it is that I love to do, and, you know, to make myself feel good. And for me, it always works best when I do something physical that can also incorporate some mindfulness to it, like yoga, more than just a sitting meditation. You know, for me, it's like something that's moving and incorporates my body and my mind. Like even when I go to the, you know, a quick nail salon pedicure, I'll listen to my little like self-love body energy thing. And as I'm sitting there in those, like, you know, not the best of massage chairs, but at the time, you know, it just feels like I'm really taking care of my body.
Right.
You know, and it can develop into that. So yeah, you know, just think about it as like trying to build my relationship with myself.
So it's interesting because I had a friend who was struggling with like low self-esteem and like different issues, and so I was like, tell me think about the worst thing that you say to yourself, the absolute worst thing. And then I was like, okay, you have it in your head? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, say it to me and direct it to me. And it was like, I'm not saying that to you.
I would never talk to you like that.
I would never talk to you like that. I'm not saying that to you. And so I was like, you know, it's so interesting because you do bring up a very interesting point. Like, why is it so easy for us to like say things we would never say to somebody else, to ourselves?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Yeah, for me, self-care, y'all know I love to like dance. So I think I didn't realize actually until I got to medical school how much dancing was self-care for me, because it's just such a part of who I am. And so when I started, quarter one, and I was just going, I realized I was like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. I haven't danced. I just need to like go dance, whether it's like taking a class or even being in the yoga room, just freestyling, doing whatever, some kind of movement. So that's something that I learned that is a part of who I am that I have to keep going. And also another one would be probably like meditating and praying too, is also like something, just being able to check back in internally as far as like where I am, and so those are the things I think I hold dear to, like self-care. That's self-care for me. So yeah,
I think the coolest thing about starting a self-love journey is, figuring out the things that you actually like,
right?
Like, and I always tell people, like, try everything. Remember when I was talking to you and I was like, every studio has a free class. You can hop from studio to studio and try a bunch of different things. Yeah. You can go to meditation classes, different spaces of prayer, and you can just figure out, like, okay, I hated that.
There's tons of things on Groupon.
Right. Utilize all that stuff. Because I think it's something important to understand that no one's self-care routine is the same. And yours isn't going to be the same as mine. Yeah, and you know what I mean? It's so personal because, once again, you're building that relationship with yourself. So it's very, very, very individualized, very personal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Something that is, I like to incorporate into my self-care is just talking to people, because sometimes I get so busy and I shut myself away, like if I'm studying or something, and I just like forget to be social. Like I need to be able to get out, whether it be dancing, whether it be going to work out with a friend. I need to remain social, or just even picking up the phone to call like family that doesn't live here, calling you ladies, like getting together with you for brunch. Those things are important to me. And then something else that's, it's probably going to seem crazy. Just something as simple as eating and drinking sometimes.
Oh, that is
I have to remind myself too, like, Courtney, like, you should have have a liter of water, like, every hour or so, or every couple hours. I mean, if I'm not like eating and drinking, how can I even produce milk for my son? Like, now it just goes right back into like taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Like just that simple thing. I have to make sure I eat. I have to make sure I drink in order to like function for my child now. So
that's definitely a thing, because like being in medical school, like we talked about time management, and you really need to have it, because if I don't meal prep, I don't eat that whole week, and I just won't. I'll buy some Cheeto Puffs and live off them the whole week.
And chocolate.
Because I'm like, okay, and we don't have the kind of budget where I can eat out every day for a whole week, so it's like, well, guess I ain't eating, guess these Cheeto Puffs will do.
And it happens.
And it happens, especially during finals week, which I learned the hard way not to do, But like right now, for me, self-care is definitely trying to make sure that I eat enough. Because, I realized when I started tracking my calories that I'm basically always under 1,200 calories. And if I work out...
She's burning everything.
My body's like, we've been living off of the sunlight.
I just get my resources from the sun.
And air. Oxygen.
But I think it goes hand in hand with like building that, once again, that relationship with yourself. Then you start paying attention to these things like, I don't drink water.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when you start tuning in with your body, like, our bodies are our greatest teachers. If we let them and we listen to them, then we can really just bring that full cycle about mind and body and working together, so.
Yeah, and just reminding ourselves that we know what to do. In this program, we know so many things and so many modalities that we can use on ourselves in order to maintain our health and to take care of ourselves, whether it be acupuncture or like asking a friend to manipulate your spine, anything like that, using herbs in order to like calm yourself. There's so much we can do to take care of ourselves.
So one of my goals for this year, especially with the quarter that we have coming up, is to try to like get out more and to find more things that I like enjoy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I love the spoken word. I love singing and anything musical. Like, I love that. So I have one place where I can go for that. But I like went on meetup.com. And so it's basically just like a bunch of activities. So based on what you're interested in, there's people who are like, hey, we're getting together to do this.
That's really cool. I never heard of that.
That is.
Yeah. So sometimes they'll have like a paint and sip night for like Black women in their 20s and 30s, or for young professionals in their 20s and 30s, or, you know, like, you know, we're Christians and we want to do this. And I even found like, hey, we're doing meditation to like focus on meditating on like manifesting the life that you want and stuff like that. And we'll be playing like singing bowls. And so I'm going to one of those actually. Yeah. And there's vegan meetups where they're like having vegan pop-ups, so you can like try different foods and be like, hey, where'd you get this recipe from?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, so I scheduled myself for these things. So now
I'm doing a pop-up at 2.
Yeah, so now, and that'll also give me the opportunity to like meet more people and to get more exposure and to like have a life outside of school. So.
Right. And you just said something so important, scheduling. Like, put it in your calendar to take care of yourself. If you're finding that you don't have the time, then just like make the time ahead of time. Put it in your calendar.
It's a date, it's serious, you know, like this is a relationship that you want to work on. A lot of us have dreams and goals, and, you know, we want to be these successful, great people, but if you don't form that relationship with yourself and, you know, make that time, you know, it will come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah, so true.
I was going to say, actually, that's the other thing, because I'm like trying to...
As soon as you are off.
I'm trying to date myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm like, okay, get dressed up and just
Take
go
yourself out.
to a movie and dinner.
Yes. That's what I've done. That's probably the best self-care thing
Honestly,
I did
me too.
this year. So I went, y'all, to go see Aladdin. I took myself
If you
to
go by
see
yourself,
Aladdin.
you can pick the best seat in the movie theater.
Yes.
And I realized
And you can dress however you want. You can dress however you want.
The best seat on the best row, right in the middle, where you can see the entire screen.
I just want to
You
go out
know,
and
like,
look homeless and just like put on a hoodie. Don't care about how I look.
No,
just go
I
and
got dressed up
relax.
for my self dates because I just wanted to feel good, you know?
Yes.
So I got really dressed up, and I would do things like that, take myself out to eat, go to the movies.
Yeah.
The movies became my favorite.
Yep, I'm with you.
My favorite.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say it's nice too to be able to get to know who you are, because I just feel like it's so many different things that you haven't tapped into as far as like who you are and what makes you you. And once you tap into those things, then like you're able to help other people. You know what I mean? Be able to tap into their selves as well. So yeah.
Well, so I just was going to say, you know, we talk about self-care so generally, but it's not something that's taught. And so I remember when I first started like realizing, okay, I want to like take care of myself. I want to love myself. Like self-love is important. And I guess I just like, there's a difference between caring about myself and doing self-care, and then doing self-love things for myself too. And I think that's important to differentiate, because because you're doing self-care, like me and my bubble bath have a relationship that can't nobody destroy, because that thing gets me through like all of my hard times in medical school. So, you know, but that's self-care. Like, I know that's soothing to me, that relaxes my muscles and helps me with my tension, you know. But then there's the like
Self-love.
Self-respect,
self-value.
I think self-care is more like physical.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
like it's like you're taking care of your body, or, you know, you're going out, you're like doing things that are external. And then the self-love is internal. But I think if you don't know, like for myself, I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know where to start. You know, when people just say that, like, oh, look in the mirror and tell yourself that I was like, okay, I'm not gonna start there.
That's true.
So when I was, you know, seeking that, not knowing that I was seeking that, and I was doing a bunch of self-care unaware, slowly over time, I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, hey, what do I want to do? And then, you know, little things like that started happening. And I think when you're, you know, if you're single and, you have that space now to completely date yourself, it's the best. Because when you're in a relationship, you have to give as much energy to the other person, so you don't give yourself as much. So yeah, I think it's great to distinguish between those two, though. It's important.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you guys want to hear more about self-care or any other topics, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you guys do, any thoughts that you have, or anything you'd like to add. So please share this video with anybody that you think can benefit from this. Subscribe and like our stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.